in this country. How is anyone above the law? YouTube, Facebook, X, they're above the law. The government has absolutely no control.
The government sort of looks the other way when they suppress other kinds of speech that are in the agenda of the people who run those companies. It's unfair. We should have free speech.
YouTube admitted that they listened to the Biden administration and actually took people down. I talked to senators and Congress people. They were scared to say certain things because YouTube would literally take down their account.
When the government was trying to tell people a doctor shouldn't be using these things to control us, it didn't ring true. And when doctors were losing their licenses around the country, it was very disturbing.
There are certain things that I do think we should take care of people socially, with social programs for people who can't take care of themselves, on drugs all day, every day, and sleeping on the street at night. The drug is literally taking over their body.
I went to a criminal attorney. I was like, what's going on? And they said, you should do, Dr. Nagy, you should just give the federal government what they want and walk away. Welcome to the Dr. Nagy Show. I'm Dr. Ori Nagy, running for U.S. Congress in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. Today I have with me serial entrepreneur, business magnate. He's a private equity expert who is a published author of Origin of Opportunity and does everything from property development to blockchain. A very, very intelligent guy and successful Nevadan, Andrew Cartwright.
It was a long drive, but
Where are you coming in from?
I came all the way from Henderson.
Well, did you get your passport stamped on the way over?
I did. And people that don't live here don't realize that people that live in Summerlin, and I've lived in both places, that it's almost like they don't go see each other. And once you move to Henderson, it's like your friends in Summerlin you don't see them anymore.
Anytime you have to cross the highway, you feel like it's an ordeal.
It's crazy. And in California, we live in California too. It's like you drive 2 hours to see your friends. So it's pretty crazy. You're running for Congress? Are you crazy?
Yeah, I kind of
You're a doctor. You're like a great doctor.
Yeah.
Doing surgery, you can bust people open and get in their brains, and you want to go to Washington?
I have a very comfortable life right now. This is not something I need to do, and
No.
so.
Right.
But I during COVID, I got extremely upset when the government was telling people that there are these generic drugs that they're spending a lot of effort trying to convince people that these are horse medications or shouldn't be used.
Right.
Every doctor in America learned in med school, ivermectin was the first line therapy for many parasitic disease, hydroxychloroquine, first line therapy for rheumatic disease and other inflammatory disorders. And so when the government was trying to tell people that doctors shouldn't be using these things, control this, it didn't ring true. And when doctors were losing their licenses around the country for trying to echo this, when they were being pushed out of hospital systems for trying to protect their patients, it was very disturbing. And so, I was president of the Board of Medical Examiners here at the time. And so I got to protect a lot of people here in Nevada who were afraid that they were going to get pushed out of the hospital or out of the lose their license over. And I said, not as long as I'm here. And I was able to hold true to that. But I had to go toe-to-toe with the dean of the medical school out here. He told people that he was at war with me on these issues. We found another generic drug that was effective. We had a 68% reduction in mortality, 37% reduction in length of hospital stay. I had one of the local hospitals out here. The hospital shut it down about 2 months after we published that data, or we circulated that data here. It was very, very strange. We took that information over to the county hospital and asked them to do something with it. We said, hey, here's a generic drug. It's saving lives. It's a very big study, just try it on a couple people. And in a 45-minute conversation, he asked me 9 times, yeah, but who's going to pay for the study? I'm like, pay for the study? This saves lives. You're a county hospital. We've been in the red for, 2 generations now. Right. What are you guys talking about? And, but the financial incentives were structured such that I think the CEO, the CFO made money based at the hospital made money. They had bonuses and the doctors were getting paid for every patient they enrolled in the remdesivir trial. And so there was a huge incentive to just stick with the way they were doing things as opposed to taking care of people. It just made me feel ill. So I started, kind of down this track of like something is seriously broken in government.
You think government's broken?
Oh my God. Not a revolutionary idea.
I don't know if broken's the word for it. I'm like, that doesn't describe the scale of how bad it is. I was just in Washington in June and another for a month, and then also just recently for another month. It is unbelievable what's happened to our country. Even Jim Jordan, who, I didn't talk about COVID, knowing what you just said. I'm a reader. I love to read. I study every day, and throughout the day, I'm ferocious that way, right? I just love to study, and I'm like, I learn about this stuff, and I want to talk about it on YouTube, and I can't. I got 900,000 people on Instagram. Every time I post, 2 or 300,000 people see me. I get 800,000 people on YouTube, and I can't talk about what I want to talk about.
How's that? Why?
You can't. If I talked about COVID during that time, they would have canceled my channel. They canceled 8,800 channels. Do you know how much I make on YouTube a year? $1 million a year off of YouTube and 40 people working.
Wow.
And 10% of a room know who I am when I go speak.
That's fantastic.
It's hard work.
Yeah, it takes
It took me 7 years, 8 years, 3,797 videos because I'm 55 and I'm not cute with high heels, right? So I have friends that are cute with high heels and, they'll get almost 1 billion views, right? But for someone like me, that's not going to do crazy stuff like trying to find a gold digger when I'm trying to teach financial information and trying to help people get loans and get government grants, which is ridiculous. There's $1.1 trillion worth of grant money that's given away a year. You know who gets it? Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. I'm so sick of it. I even pay to put up a site called Grant Velocity so that people have access to all the government grants that are out there, and then free AI tools so that help them write it. I lose money. I hope nobody goes to the site. Please don't. It costs me money if they go to the site. But the thing is, I'm just amazed at how, everyday people don't have the access, right? Like there's a thing in Washington, we go up there, I donate to a lot of people, politically, and it's like you have a seat at the table, or do you know this saying? You will when you get there.
Yeah, you're either on the menu or you're either have a seat at the table or you're on the menu.
100%. And if you think that, when you donate money to politicians, you're still on the menu. The only people that have a seat at the table are people who can vote,
Yeah.
the people in Congress. So it's an unbelievable mess that we're in as a country. It is really bad.
Yeah, the amount of money that's spent on lobbying, it was for the insurance industry, $150 million last year, pharmaceutical industry, almost twice that, $300 million, all money spent trying to game the system in their direction. The reason those billionaires have so many subsidies and grants is in large part because of the ability they have to get the ear of the people who are writing laws. And maybe they convince them that if you write laws, if you give me this money, I can turn this into more jobs and more benefit for America. And to the extent that that's the purpose of the money, that's fantastic. But when the money goes into boondoggles like it did with Cylinder, where $750 million were wasted on this garbage project with technology that didn't work at all, it's infuriating because, people work very, very hard for the money that they make.
Or a grant that has studies the effects of Japanese quail on cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of what are they doing?
Yeah, we're talking about what, $1 million some odd spent on that. I could have told them. They came up with the same result. I've seen people, on cocaine. I know what they do. The quails do the same thing. The report said the same thing.
I mean, I can maybe imagine some sort of legitimate utilization for a study like that, but the ones that are studied to determine how people feel about when they're how people who are in this minority group who have these kind of feelings are better coaxed to get information to accept the vaccines. That kind of research that's done to just really, I think, transfer money from this group to that group to support a political ideology, that has to stop and
put somebody to work. Their buddy, cousin, brother, sister, friend.
It's done with the purpose of building a political ideology or as a payoff to some group of people who helped somebody to get elected at some point. Yeah. And that kind of stuff needs to be rooted out because that's destructive to our country. And it undermines free dialogue and the free speech that we need.
We don't have free speech. We're not going to have free speech. Jim Jordan got 8,000 accounts back for YouTube. YouTube admitted on the record that they listened to the Biden administration and actually took people down. I was there. I talked to senators and Congress people. They were scared to say certain things because YouTube would literally take down their account.
For people who don't know, tell people who Jim Jordan is.
So Jim Jordan, he's a Republican for, I think, is it Ohio? One of the states. He's a part of the judicial committee. We're talking about you go and say you committed this horrendous act that violates free speech, which they're a private platform. But the problem with that is, and I think they give up the right to their private platform. You know why? Here's the thing. When I go to the airport, they have to almost strip search me, right? I give up certain rights because I'm going through the airport metal detector. There was a case I read about where somebody had lodged a gun up their rectum, right? And they went through and they took him aside and the whole bit, and he sued the for saying that it was an invasion of privacy, right? I mean, it's a pretty private place, right? And so I'm like, okay, you know, and we got to put it in front of a jury and figure it out. You're a surgeon. Imagine when they did the surgery. This was the interesting thing about the whole freaking case. I'm looking at it. I'm like, fuck. The gun was cocked.
That's scary. Yeah.
So while the surgeon was taking the gun out, at any moment it could have like I don't know a fart and boom, right? I'm like what the so at any rate so I'm like that and so we give up certain rights because we're going into a public area. I think because of the monopoly um, that and they just went through antitrust, Google did, and it was a laughable case. They just blew it out, and it's amazing because Google pays everybody. Google pays everybody in the district, by the way. Everyone that I looked up, and Google's paying every representative pretty much in Nevada, right, to keep their monopoly at pay. And a lot of these politicians, it's $1 million to win, right? And they'll give $100,000 to somebody. That's 10%
Give me
of the
7 million
campaign.
ace race is what they're telling me. That's what Susie Lee has banked.
Yeah, so and the longer they're there, the more they collect the dough, right? And can't be pro quo, but why do people give money, right? But at any rate, you've got you've got Chrome, which is the number one browser. You've got Google, number one search, and then what are the videos that show up right under the search? YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you see Rumble's videos there?
Yep.
Bing's videos, Odyssey's, peer to peer. Do you see anyone else at all? So let me ask you, do we really have free speech?
I mean, I just thank God that Elon Musk bought Twitter. I wonder how much worse off we'd be had he not chosen to do that.
I think this would be a sad world because if we like, for example, I don't so the Democrats took and wiped all those people, 8,000 accounts, shut down conservative voices. They migrated over to Rumble. Nobody followed hardly anybody over to Rumble. Rumble doesn't have a discovery algorithm. They can't find each other on the Rumble algorithm. So people can't find you. It doesn't show up online. It doesn't show up in a Google search. So then you're lost, right? You evaporate. Your digital identity is over. I don't think I'm about to sue someone for $100 million because they've affected my digital identity, right? So I think people don't realize how important today, and you're getting it with doing a podcast. I don't think you realize that this is the new medium.
I agree with
You know, YouTube, I have 900,000 people on Instagram,
Amazing.
right? And YouTube, like, if the Democrats take the House and Senate, and eventually get the presidency, which at some point they probably will, um, YouTube is not changing a single policy. That means right now, the government could push YouTube into making decisions based on their own internal policies, and they can decide to do what they want to do. There is no creator protection. There's no protection of our free speech. And you know why? I went to all the Congress people and senators that wanted to help me with a project that I was doing, and I'll tell you about that project in a little bit. The Decency Act, Section 230, allows platforms to do anything they want, cancel you, suppress you, you know, take you off the platform completely, and you have no recourse.
So, you know, when TV came up and the public airways were auctioned off to people, there was a decision that was made that there were going to have public radio stations. There was a public access on Channel 4 here in Las Vegas, and then there's the public radio, the PBS that we have out here too. So there's some argument that the government has it's a public good to create a channel that allows the general public to access to talk to each other on these networks. And even that, I'm sure, is suppressed. I'm sure you couldn't, during the COVID crisis, get on public access channels and start talking about ivermectin or these kinds of things.
Who watches that? I mean, to me, that's not free speech. Free speech is being in the public arena where people are. And when I talk to people, they go to YouTube. That's where they go for their information. X, thank goodness we have X, but again, even X is, has its own sort of viewpoint. These platforms sort of push us in directions, right? Facebook's pushed us in a direction.
So what's the answer? What's the best way forward?
Transparency, transparency, actual published guidelines that are guidelines that the government actually has. Like having a banking license, right? I got an unlimited credit line pretty much for doing single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes for fix and flip, ground up construction and rentals, right? So I lend all over the country. You submit whatever your lending guidelines are to the banking division. They have a record of it. They know how you're following it, and you have to keep your books. What we don't have with these platforms is some sort of government oversight or transparency. The government has absolutely no control. If you sue Google or any one of the platforms, they're completely immune. They have like diplomatic immunity in this country. How is anyone above the law? YouTube and these platforms, Facebook, X, they're above the law. How did we give why did Bill Clinton in 92 hand over these platforms?
I'm sure they decided that they want to have the platforms agree to government-sanctioned speech and to suppress the kind of speech that they would have found either un-American, unpatriotic, or seditious.
Yeah.
And so when those companies agreed to those guidelines, which they weren't able to find another way to enforce legally,
Yeah.
but they sort of agreed off the books, yeah, we'll go ahead and agree to this policy, that the government sort of looks the other way when they suppress other kinds of speech that are in the agenda of the people who run those companies. Perhaps that's what's going on. And that's not right. It's unfair. We should have free speech. People should be able to discuss the things that are important to them and be able to reach, everybody should have the same opportunity to reach an audience to have their message before. And that's the truth.
Right.
Because in the marketplace of ideas, the best ideas should win, period. Because that's how we're going to have the strongest America. And when people start to get in the arena and they start to suppress this version or that version, they're trying to promote their version of reality, which serves their interests by necessity and doesn't necessarily serve the interests of everybody else.
Right.
So we need a free marketplace of ideas, and the things that we can do to preserve that should be done. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to how you force private companies to change their policies to no longer censor the media that's up there. I mean, some of the stuff that
You sat on a board at a bank,
yeah, I did.
right?
I was
You were a private company, right?
That's right.
Did you not have to answer to the banking division?
We did.
Okay. If I have a network and I put a show up on the network, don't I don't I have rules I have to go by the FCC?
Yeah, for sure.
There are no rules for these platforms. And what's really crazy is these networks that fall under the FCC. YouTube now is putting those networks on their platform. So let me get this straight. If you have fall under the FCC, you have all these rules, but platforms don't, which creates an uneven playing field. I went and talked to the guy at the FCC. He actually reached out to YouTube because I had something happen. My YouTube channel was canceled for no reason. AI hit it because of a stalker, and they just shut my channel down. And I can't get anybody to it's
Still to this day.
till today. I can show you on my phone the
So you have all these people out there who want to hear the story. You say you had this huge network of followers, and they just decided we can't allow this guy to continue to communicate with the public. This is essentially what happened.
I've helped people. I've gotten people over $1 billion. Over $1 billion. I help people. I did.
And I'm gonna pause there, because when you do that, when you say somebody's been able to generate, that's economic activity that other people found the service that they had and wanted to buy it. That's building everybody. That both sides are winning in this, and you've been able to. That's a tremendous number of people who are involved in raising that kind of money, and that's been shut down.
Yeah. I help people get access to capital.
Still taking a look at your channel. Well, reviews usually take 2 business days, some take longer. We'll send an email to somebody as soon as we're done. And that's been up for what? How many years now?
August 1st last year.
Well, it's an awful long time.
So I went to Washington. I pulled all my connections there. realized that every politician in our state was pretty much getting, almost every politician was getting Google money, so none of them really cared about helping. And also, pretty much none of our Congress people here that are active, and I talked to every senator and I talked to every congressperson, none of them acted. I showed them my channel. I showed them that I got over $1 billion for people. I showed the receipts. An Indian tribe literally wrote a whole document about how I helped their tribe and all the money that they were able to access and get. I had another company that was with the direct connection into the IRS to help people get tax credits and even threatened banks during COVID that if they didn't offer PPP loans to people for $20,000, like if you made 100 grand, you could get $20,000 in the PPP. It was $20,833.33 that you could get, you were entitled to according to the government. And Wells Fargo, all the major banks, like all the major banks, as soon as you typed in 100 grand, they called it fraud and they didn't respond to you and you didn't get your money. I personally did PPPs with my own hands all the way down to $1,500. It cost me more money to give that loan when I was packaging it here with Greater Nevada Credit Union. So, it's like people, I like the depths all go. I was number one for loans. Like if you said loans in YouTube, 7 out of 10 videos were me. 7 out of 10.
So what were you doing in the loan space? Why was it so important to you to be in that market, and what were you trying to accomplish, and what did you accomplish? I mean, people needed money. You were able to provide loans. Were they personal loans? So were like the payday loans? Were they car loans? Were they loans for commercial real estate? What arena were you working in?
I only do loans that help people get ahead. That's it. I don't do due-date loans. I don't do home loans for people. I do investor loans. Okay. That's it, for mom and pop type investors all over the country. But part of the passion for everything I talked about on my channel, when 2008 happened and it was horrible, we set up a government entity. My wife and I, we got over $200 million and then a treasury backing. At the end, I think we got almost $1 billion worth of capital to help fix housing in the hardest hit area in Nevada. It was Home Means Nevada.
That was the TARP funding?
No, it was a lawsuit directly against the banks.
Yeah. Wasn't Tisha Black involved with that? Iran in that?
I think she might have been the counsel of their Home Means Nevada.
And Ash Donnie?
Yes, Ash was there.
Yeah.
Ash was one of the board members, but Anya was the CEO. My wife was the CEO. She set it up. The governor called her. My wife has a PhD in artificial intelligence. She has an MBA in strategic finance. She has a bachelor's in data science. She's a data scientist, and then she's an attorney. She has a JD.
Wow.
So, and speaks 5 languages. So the governor,
in a really great way.
yeah, the governor called her, and she set up Home Means Nevada, set up the charter, set up everything to help people during that time and get the capital. And it was, and working with the Attorney General here at the time, Mastiff, it was critical. So during that process, I learned about grants. I learned about government money. So then that's when I started evangelizing how to get access to this $1 trillion worth of capital that's there. And then a third of my entire channel was helping people get public housing, helping people get health care, helping people, there's $8,475 in like free benefits if you just exist in America and go sign up for all the programs. You can get Section 8 housing, you can get food through SNAPs, you can get there's no reason, for anybody to suffer here in America.
One of the things I had thought about that would be a real benefit to people is if there was a navigator that was available from like maybe AI. They just sort of, engage with the interface and tell them a little about themselves and where they're at. And that entity goes out and searches for them and says, hey, you are eligible for X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, and we're going to help you with the application. And maybe the entity that does that gets some sort of small compensation for doing such a thing.
You want to build that?
Okay.
We can build it. What do you want to call it?
Assistance navigator?
Assistance Navigator. Sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's build it.
all right. I mean, yeah. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas, but it takes time to execute, to follow through, to got to get a
Well,
CEO.
hopefully we can get some help. Other people, yeah. You got a platform.
It is tough to kind of execute on these things and to I mean, but I do love kind of being in a position where you can sort of put ideas out there and that people are receptive because somebody who's got the time and the passion and the fever to solve this problem, maybe they didn't conceive of this as a solution for it before, but this is I'm happy to put stuff like that. If I can't take advantage of it, 'cause I don't have the time or the bandwidth to execute on this, but somebody
Well,
will.
no, you're supposed to be running for Congress.
I'm running for Congress, and I can execute. And in Congress, we can execute laws that can help to assist somebody who's going to make money on this.
Right.
But that's the role of the congressman right there. The congressman is to talk to people, find out what the problem is, find out what solution can be executed on, and then push like crazy to get those advantages for Nevada. And it's a competition here against the other states to bring money for Nevada. And then the where we all come together is on the patriotism, those things that promote America above the rest of the countries in the world.
Yeah.
And those are the objectives.
So in regards to that, the Assistance Navigator, I used to, so anytime we do loans, right? So investor loans to help people fix and flip, ground up construction and rentals, right? For that, industry. So I taught people how to fix their credit because usually people would put all their stuff on their personal credit. My credit score is 850. I have like an 850 credit score,
That's fantastic.
right? I'll show it to you.
Well, you own the bank though, so
But so I've set up, I founded 32 companies,
wow.
right? So, and I have all those credit scores and business credit, but that's my credit score.
That is 850. That's what it says.
Yeah. So, what do you call it? So my thing.
How'd you get started? Because people be like, where was the beginning for you?
So
And so how do young people who are watching this show maybe kind of say, I like what this guy's saying, I like his message, I would like to model my life after what he's done and have that kind of success in my life. Where do they begin?
well, it began for me. I walked through the door coming home from school. My dad grabbed me by the arm and lifted me in the air, carried me into my bedroom, basically threw me on the bed and started yelling at me.
Okay.
He said, "You're not going to ask me for money and you're not going to ask your mom for money. You are cut off. You're not going to get a dime. You ask your mom for a dime, I'm going to spank you," basically, because he would whip me. And it was my stepfather. And he said that you're going to have to figure it out. I was 12 years old on the streets, and you're going to have to figure it out too. And, you know, that was the end of it. And he was a father that you never asked him twice because because it would just get worse. So anything he said, I never questioned it. I never questioned it at all. So at 12 years old, I went to the school and said that I need food. So I worked in the cafeteria, and I passed out food. And then from there, the lady that was managing the place felt so guilty because I would show up when the teachers were there in the morning and I would show up midday and all that kind of stuff, that she felt bad. So she gave me enough food to feed 8 people. So I fed 8 of my friends that didn't have money for like.
You didn't convince them to come take some of those days you were working to.
I convinced one friend, Gene Tabola, to come with me, and so we worked together, and it was fun. And we always had friends. If you got food, you got friends, right? So from there, and then I started selling on the corners in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, scarves and watches and stuff like that. I met a lady from South Korea that imported products, and she didn't speak English. And but the best and the most inexpensive products I got directly, like factory pricing. So I started wholesaling. I first retail, then I started a wholesale company and started selling to Longs, Payless, Macy's. I was about 15 at that time. Interesting story too. First time ever dealing with a government body. I was selling. Longs told me and I had sold to all their stores, and I came in to collect a check, and they said I needed to provide a business license, right? And I hadn't had a business license yet, right? So it just kind of did my thing, right? Whatever, pirate.
Yeah.
So, and I went to my mom. My mom's like, you don't need a license. I'm like, he's not going to give me a check unless I have a license. So it's a little, and they've already sold the merchandise. okay, because I give them 30-day terms. So, and I'm 15, I'm freaked out. So I go into Vallejo, the city of Vallejo, and I hit him up. I'm like, I need a business license. And the lady there said that you needed to be 18 because a license was a contract with the city.
Oh, wow, you're stuck.
So I'm like, okay. So I sat there and I said, well, where does it say that? And not to question your authority, but where does it say that? And she goes, it's in the codes. I'm 15. I think, Batman and Robin. I'm thinking Green Lantern. What code are you talking about? Like, what? I don't, what's a code? Is it a secret code? Like, is it a secret? She goes, no, it's not a secret. It's public. I'm like, public code. Oh, she goes, it's in these manuals. So she brings out a book like this, and it has those little punch holes in it. This is
Oh, right.
1985, right? And it's all dot matrix, real gray,
I remember.
hard to read. So I spent 4 hours in that office reading all the way through that entire book, everything in that book, covered every aspect of it. And they were about to close up the office. They were completely annoyed with me, angry that some 15-year-old is reading their codes who questions someone. And I get to the end, and section G, I think it was 40.575 of somebody in 1973 at a city council meeting just decided to throw up that if you're under 16 years old, not only do you get a business license, but you don't have to pay for it.
All right.
So whoever that was in 1973, my life would completely I've cried thinking about this moment in my life because that would have changed the entire trajectory of my life. That one moment, because it would have suppressed the idea of being an entrepreneur because after that moment I got really fierce because at that 15 years old getting the license, this guy, Glenn Bod, he's the manager, he comes walking out. People say, because they've heard me talk online about him, he's in LA. And he came up, he looked at the exemption, he looked at me, shook his head. That's the only time I've ever seen him in my life because those kind of people scare me, right? Like business license people, people are going to, bureaucrats, right? It's never good enough for a bureaucrat. So I'm like, I get the license, I leave as fast as I can. I stole something. And I left, I went and picked up my check. And after that, I said, I need mentoring, some solid mentoring, not just my dad, the contractor, and my mom, the jeweler. So I went and I seeked out a guy. His name was Joseph Kosman. Everything I had made, all the money I had made, I gave to him to mentor me. He taught me how to patent, how to trademark, how to copyright, how to get foreign money, how to get government grants, how to get free publicity like this. How do you, like all the different things, how to sell a product 22 different ways. I had my first patent filed at 16 years old. And I got exclusive rights to 3 different lines. One of them took off like crazy. I had 200 employees. And my youngest manager was 37 years old, and I was 17 years old. All I did was count money all day long. Everyone tried to go around me, but I had exclusive rights. And the way I did it, I flew to Oceanside, California. I met a guy named Owenby, Steve Owenby, and I'll never forget it. Steve met with me, and he goes, "I'll sign a contract with you, but," he goes, "I can't sign a contract with you because you're under 18." This whole under 18 crap again. So he said, I can't enforce the contract. And I said, I'll tell you what, give me a number that you do not think I could sell. Entertain me. I'm just a kid. Just entertain me. Give me a number you don't think I could hit. So he writes down exclusive rights to sell 2,000 boxes a week. I did 2,000 boxes on a weekend, like one day.
Wow.
So I looked at him, I go, oh man, that's tough.
Sure.
2,000. Oh, wow, that's a tough number. And then I got the exclusive rights. I went back and went and hired everybody, got everything, train, motivate, retain, boom, 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 hire, train, and retain, all that stuff. And built that up. And by 17, I was rocking. And then I opened up a factory, prints to go, and started doing that and sleeping in the warehouse, making stuff.
How did you find this Joey Saftoski guy?
E. Joseph Kosman, just
E. Joseph
E. Joseph Kosman. He's dead now,
E. Joseph
but
Coffman.
yeah.
Okay.
So he just came across the TV, and I've
He's on
since
TV? Like a
yeah,
video
he's on
personality?
TV. Yeah.
Okay.
So you got Tony Robbins,
Uh-huh.
you got Joseph Kosman, and whoever else was Marshall Silver at the time, and I was like, you know, one guy was pumping you up to feel good about yourself. Another guy was teaching you strategy, tactics, what to do, where to do it, and how to do it. And to me, I didn't need to be motivated. I was born motivated. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't wish my ambition on anybody, but like literally, it taught me how to navigate this system. Um, December 23rd, I filed 6 patents
Congrats.
that during Christmas. 6 patents.
That's outstanding. Congrats. That's creative. That's creative and hard work.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I do most of my stuff myself, until I absolutely needed an attorney at the last portion of it when you're doing your non-provisional, where you have to really argue your claims and solidify them. But the non-provisionals, I do those myself.
During COVID, we're still spending an awful lot of money on patents. When COVID happened, we found out a generic drug that was successful. We saw what had happened to the guys who had been promoting ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and how their reputations were destroyed. And we thought, well, what we would do is we would take one generic patented with another generic. So there's now a patent, and we could sell the patent to some giant company, and that giant company could fight against the other giant companies who made the vaccines, and have a the battle, 10,000 feet above my head, right?
Right.
And so we started getting the patent attorneys involved, and they got very, very expensive because you end up defending the patents, and they're all over the world, and you kind of getting into that. We went really far with it. We presented to BARDA, Biomedical Advanced Research Development Authority. We presented our stuff to the FDA. We ended up writing a 500-600 page application to the FDA on how to do all that. So I learned all those steps really well, and then we presented the NIH, and I got to talk to some of the brightest folks in the country. A couple different companies came down. We had a guy from former chairman of the Department of Immunology from Stanford came down, reviewed our science, and gave a thumbs up. Had a virology or a gentleman, PhD in virology from Hopkins, reviewed it positively. Anyway, we really super bright people came on board. Our science was impeccable, but yeah, it was very, very difficult couldn't publish because no academic publisher was willing to put this forward. We couldn't get any of the professors who reviewed it to go on the record because they were like, well, Anthony Fauci's the head over at the NIH, and he'll cut off my funding and for me and my whole department, and we'll all be out of work, and we won't be able to feed our families. And
At any given time, he's part of over 10,000 grants.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Can you believe that? One guy, including the grant that helped, deliver the virus to us.
Yeah, that's a
Indirectly,
whole mess of
directly,
things, right? Yeah.
I just, it, I think, fact is stranger than fiction. Like, when you look at the stuff that goes on. What do you think of Venezuela?
So I'm very happy to see the people of Venezuela are happy about what we've done. That is kind of reinforced the idea that Trump was right in what he was doing. I think the Monroe Doctrine, kind of pushing out other foreign interests in our part of the world, is the right way for America to go. I think the pathway forward that we've chosen to choke off China's access to oil in order to have some control over this, to rebalance the economic situation with them. So we're going after Iran and Venezuela, who both together provide 70% of the oil for China, limits their ability to advance on the AI development, which will allow us to develop our AI first, because this is an existential race for our country, right? To be the first in the world to develop this super intelligence AI.
Isn't it crazy that the people of Venezuela can be so poor, and they have the biggest oil reserve on the planet, bigger than Saudi, and they have the most gold. And strategically, they're right there. Like Florida's here, Puerto Rico's right here, and it's right. Like strategically, it's like, how did we allow this to go on for 20 years? How did they, without, it's just,
Was it Hugo Chavez in the 80s who came up over there and then
but the people there should be so wealthy. They should be so wealthy. Just like in Alaska, people get checks for the oil. Like, I am not, where is like this unbelievable possible infrastructure that comes out of the ground that you can print money to help establish the best schools, the best life, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You got beautiful people, a beautiful place, and the land itself, they're sitting on mountains of value, of money. They're literally walking over the top of it, and that to me just is so sad. It's sad. Like, they're walking on their opportunity, and they're getting it they're just smushed by government. Government is so important. This country is the only country that, like, that I know of that was really established on, like, freedom. Everything else was conquered.
And I'll tell you, Las Vegas is one of the last places in the country that's still free here in Nevada.
Yeah,
It's the
but we're losing it. It's creeping in daily.
to California keep coming in and sort of bringing the rules and laws they have with them, and kind of it's a problem.
I I I don't know why they're bringing it in.
Because it's just what they left, right? I mean, they fled that kind of a structure, those sort of taxes, that way of thinking, and they came here where things are better, and they want to convert this back over to that, and that's a problem.
How does that change? I mean, I moved here 27 years ago from California. Part of the reason I moved was because of all the bureaucracy. I call it catching the bureaucracy, you know? Mama got the bureaucracy. So, like, if you catch the bureaucracy, it's pretty bad. So, and over there, I feel like every other week I was catching the bureaucracy, where I've got some new agency in the office going through stuff, whether that's the labor board or whatever else. It was just,
I'll tell you, part of it's active citizenry, and part of it's having access to communicate with each other, freedom of speech. So, having active citizenry, people who will go out, take the time and look at these government structures and talk about when they see corruption,
right.
and work hard to bring it to light. And the other part of it is having a way to get that message out to enough people to where they're outraged, to where you can remove the people who are protecting those kinds of institutions and entities. And that's I think we have, I've been going to these Republican events here in Nevada for at least 9 to 10 months now, kind of going to really almost all the events out here. And there are a lot of very passionate people committed to exposing corruption where they find it in government. But once they get that information, it's very, very hard for them to get that information broadcast on any mainstream media allocation, because the mainstream media allocations, I think they have to sell ads, and the people who are going to buy the ads within their magazine or publications or on TV, if it's on TV, are very sensitive to upsetting the people who are the people who are buying the ads, sensitive to their customers' needs, and that gets influenced by.
So is that is like, so if you run an ad and it's geared to satisfy the left, the right will still buy from you because that's not going to keep them from buying. But the left would if you, right?
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Seems
They're
it's
very good at organizing boycotts, and they're very organized.
Yeah, and it's amazing that all these protests. Like, I have another house in San Francisco, and it's close to Tesla, and every week they're still protesting him, Elon Musk,
Is that right?
and they're all getting paid. I go out there and talk to them, and bring drinks or whatever it may be, and just talk to them, see what they're up to, and they're like, yeah, just collecting my check and holding the sign and be here for a couple hours, and then I'm like, I mean, they're nice people, but they got the drum rolling and the whole bit, and to the public, they don't realize. I almost think there's such a there's corruption in that as well. I'm paying people to protest, but I mean, unions have been doing that for years. Unions pay protesters. As a contractor, I built subdivisions and nightclubs and tore down neighborhoods and rebuilt them. And I would use a certain amount of union contractors on a job and a certain amount of non-union so that my jobs wouldn't get protested. Because if I used all non-union, then the job would get protested and they'd be all lined up and it'd be a PR nightmare and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have to kind of walk those kinds of lines.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, so to me as an entrepreneur, when you have to be, I love them both. I love Democrats and Republicans, right? There are things I love about the Democratic Party. I think there are certain things that I do think we should take care of people socially, with social programs for people who can't take care of themselves. I think people in San Francisco that are on drugs that they can't get themselves off of. When I was a kid, they arrested people and thawed them out in jail and got them in a house and got them back to being normal. There's no way somebody hunched over on drugs all day, every day, and sleeping on the street at night that they want to be there. They're just the drug is literally taken over their body.
Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah.
you know this
It's
field.
a little bit, right? I'm not an addiction expert. A lot of addiction experts, and they know way more than me. But you look up in Portland, right, and you see the folks who are out there, and police officers will go out, and the guys, legs rotting off because he's sitting there getting the drugs instead of taking care of his diabetes medications, and he's like, no, I would rather sit here and let my leg rot than to go in and get taken care of, and they're offering to take the guy over there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, clearly the drugs are taking over their life, but and a lot of that comes from despair. I always wondered, what is it that would drive somebody to be so self-destructive or to get hooked on this stuff? And I finally came to a conclusion. At least one person I could understand who makes that decision. Say you're a young father and you're backing out of your driveway and you run over your 3-year-old and kill him. And I thought, you just live with that now every day for the rest of your life because you can't undo that. That's a horrible thing. And how do you escape that? And the guilt and the shame and just everything.
Right.
And so I could see how that would destroy someone's life and they do anything to escape from it for a few minutes. And that would become, and so maybe there are a lot of people who have a lot of things like that, but that comes down to a mental health thing. And so how much of that is reversible? A good friend of mine runs a, uh, 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 a shelter type for addiction downtown, the Vegas Stronger. And so I get to hear from them. They have about, I think a 20-30% success rate, which is pretty good.
That's you know what, 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 3 people that get their lives back.
Yeah, just so.
I mean, that's funny. You don't have to be 100, but if you're the one of the 3, your whole life could come back to you.
And I just talked to this fantastic guy today, Tiger. I can't remember Tiger's last name, but he's been here forever, and he has a very. I mean, we're gonna have to get Tiger on the show, and to talk about it. He's an expert on this issue. He's got books on it, and he said he was like having a 70 to 80% success rate with these folks by sort of teaching them a way to sort of for personal responsibility to cope with their problems and to move past whatever obstacles they have in life. But yeah, hugely important problem,
Well, I just
take.
watched, Gavin had passed, where they all get, I think, $2,000 a month.
But what they have over there is they have sort of that poverty industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
So much of the social work that's being done is in order to create some excuse to pile a bunch of government money into something so they can take the money out and use it to pay people off to either get more votes for them or to create jobs for their supporters who've done them other favors. And then those people pass the money back into either nonprofits or to PACs that then go back and donate the campaign. So it's cycling tax dollars into these charity networks that then go to fund the politicians for their ambition. It's really nasty.
When does it become like the an outside responsibility to handle that? When it's so bad as an industrial complex that, I mean, shouldn't the feds be in there?
The feds are taking it. So I was in a situation. We ran a federally qualified health center. That's a clinic to help take care of indigent people. We get about $750,000 a year to operate these people. But it's a kickback system going from Washington all the way back. So as soon as we got the grant, the person who was supposed to be overseeing our operations to decide whether we continue to get funding, the first conversation I had with him is he said, "Well, so you're going to have to hire me as a consultant." And I was like, "So we're going to use federal funds to give to you to decide if we should continue to get further federal funds. Isn't that a conflict of interest?" Last polite conversation that I had. Obviously, the money I was going to give to him, he was going to give part of that back up to the guys up top, and the money went that. And so so because we didn't pay that bribe, because I didn't see a reason to have to pay bribes if you're going to government a grant, right?
Doing the right thing, yes.
And so then the people in Washington flew out, and they were after me like crazy. We had to send the CEO for the organization to a conference to understand how to work it. They convinced the CEO that if she replaced the board, which I was on the board, that she could put her own board in and they'd pay her whatever she wanted, right? Because they were overseeing it, so they got to decide. And so they told her that what she needed to do in order to remove us was to one, so she came back, she hired a bunch of people, closed the doors, locked the doors to the clinic, and no more patients could come in. And then she went to the government and filed a complaint that we were embezzling funds, which we weren't. We had set up, totally separate accounts for everything at two different banks.
Well, the crazy thing is once people hear that, they actually believe it. It's the weirdest thing.
So I went to a criminal attorney. I was like, "What's going on?" And they said, "Yeah, it's a 10-year prison sentence for this kind of an accusation. So what you should do, Dr. Nagy, is you should just give the federal government what they want and walk away." And I was like, "Yeah, no." So I went to the FBI the next morning and I said, "Listen, this is a racketeering operation that's going on here in Las Vegas and at every federally qualified health center in the entire country. And you guys need to go investigate them. And but I would stop when you get to, the bureaucrats. Don't go after the congressmen who are supporting this thing because, we all watch that movie American Hustle, so we know what happens when you do that. So I would stop there and please, sort this out." 2 weeks later, the Office of the Inspector General dropped the case against me. And the reason was because what they didn't want me in front of a federal judge testifying about the fraud and embezzling going on at every level in this government. But that's how entrenched it is. You used to go to the government to get help, but the people within the government, these are all people who were appointed through the Obama administration overseeing the Bureau of Primary Health Care underneath the Division of Health and Human Services. Victoria Seaman, our former city councilman, a Republican lady, a very, very ethical person, just got hired up there to oversee a lot of this stuff. I wrote this up for her. She's going to pass it on to the people to Knox, who's above her, and then up to RFK to sort of help get this sorted out. And hopefully, they can restore some accountability. But you can only, if you can elect accountable people in the government to start to uncover and unwind these kinds of things, then you can start to, restore justice. And there have to be punishment, severe punishments for people who are embezzling from the government. Because right now, people look at this the government as a giant trough, get more tax money in, nobody can account for it, we'll dig our claws in, pull our money out, and nobody squeals louder than a criminal who's been caught stealing money. I don't know how many times you've had to deal with that, but they complain so loudly and so viciously, and they're like blaming you when they're the ones doing it. It's unbelievable, these people. So that's what's rife in our government right now. So I think we're having to wrap up right now. This has been so fun to talk to you, and I can talk to you for another 2 hours.
Do a Joe Rogan type 3 hour podcast for sure.
But what do we need to get about you that helps people to get connected with you and the things that you're doing? You're helping lots of people with lending and with guidance and with mentorship. Sounds like. And but today, right now, what do you need to what can people do to get connected with you in a way that's positive?
So, I mean, I got a few. One is Beeline It, where people can put up their investments, sponsor investments. Investors can invest in it as well. It's a democratized platform for being able to finance your dreams. It's like Amazon for investments.
So we need this because of the Bitcoin stuff we've been talking about over here.
Everything is on. All companies are registered on the NFTs. I started this process back in 2016. I wrote a white paper on this. It hasn't been legal until the Genius Act that I was there on the floor when we passed this, the Genius Act. So now there's some guidance, and I put gold on the blockchain and did that for IRA accounts and stuff like that. Now I'm putting investments, real estate, businesses, loans on the blockchain where everyday people, it democratizes it so we can cut out the banks. We can cut out all the middlemen, go from A to B, which is Beeline It. And the platform's amazing. It has a social.
So how do they find it? It's beeline.com?
Beelineit.com. That's like the platform. But yeah, it has like a
This is great.
number one investor, number one sponsor. So if you're broke, you can package, a company, or I have startup funding, VC funding, where people can do that. So that's one aspect.
Small business investors need to find this
institution.
They need to find you to get funding, which is fantastic.
That's one, and then funding for fix and flip ground up construction is capital velocity. So if you need capital, I don't pull your credit. If the property cash flow is positive by at least 1.05, which is just this is what I taught, like how to do this stuff. I hate the fact that I can't tell people on YouTube anymore about this stuff. But if the cash flow is positive, you have a 680 credit score. I don't hard pull the credit. I don't even look at your bank statements. I don't look at your tax returns. If the property makes sense, we fund the deal. We're direct lenders. We write the check. And in Washington, I mean, on Wall Street, I pretty much have an unlimited line to write these deals, as long as they meet. And we're so actively trying to help.
Beeline at .com, and the other one was called
Capital Velocity.
capitalvelocity.com.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then
Andrew X Cartwright on Instagram, since YouTube is, I'm an internal prison there, I guess.
all right, and then soon to come, Assistance Navigator.
Assistance Navigator, yes.
They're help a lot of people.
Yeah, if you're a coder and you want to help us code Assistance Navigator, make sure you reach out so we can get this built by the time he gets in office.
Yeah, we'll get to help a lot of people in this country. It'll be fantastic. So I'm Dr. Rory Nagy, a Republican candidate for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. Going to push out Susie Lee. Vote for me, follow me on Instagram, and follow Andrew Cartwright. This podcast is a campaign communication paid for by Nagy for Congress and authorized by me, Dr. Nagy. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the campaign or its affiliates. Discussions are intended for informational and conversational purposes only and do not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Any references to public policy matters reflect general positions and priorities at the time of the recording and are subject to change based on legislative process and voter input.